Hi everybody, welcome to Chapter 7. In this series of video exercises, we will be working with tips and tools for solving worksheet issues. As always, please do 3 things before you start working on this demonstration assignment. First, be sure you have thoroughly read Chapter 7 in the textbook and used Excel to work through some of the examples shown in the chapter. You will need the in-depth information in the chapter because these videos are just going to show you some of the chapter highlights. Second, print or download the PDF instructions for the assignment so you can see the step-by-step processes we will follow. And third, download the Excel workbook so you can work along with these videos and prepare your Chapter 7 demonstration assignment. Let's begin on the Text to Columns worksheet and use some Excel tools to separate text fields. In A3 and A4, we have an employee's last name, first name, and middle name all listed in one column. Let's use the Text to Column feature to rearrange his names. Highlight A3. And on the Data tab, choose Text to Columns. So here's Data, and here's Text to Columns. As you learned in the textbook, you can separate text into columns by using delimited or fixed width. Most frequently used is delimited. Then click Next. In step 2, we're going to choose just the comma. That's all. And click on Next. And in step 3, you can choose for these examples either general or text, either one. So it came up general, I'll leave it at general. And also check the destination. In this case, the last name will show up in A3, and that's just fine. That's exactly what we want to have happen. So click on Finish. And what we ended up doing then was separating his last name into one column and his first and middle name into another column. Now let's do it again and see if we can get the last name, first name, and middle name to show up in 3 different columns. Click on A4. In the Data tab, Text to Columns, Delimited, Next. Now let's choose the comma and a space. We've got a comma separating the last name and the first name, and we have a space separating the first name and the middle name. Click on Next. General is fine, and his last name will still show up in A4. Finish. There we go. Frank, Martin, Lee. 3 separate columns. Now imagine a list of 150 employees. You would not want to go through each of the 150 employees and separate their name out into various columns. So this is a really good tool for getting that done. If you want to separate more than one cell, you can highlight a series of cells. So let's separate A6 through A8 using the fixed width instead of delimited. Highlight A6 through A8, Text to Columns, fixed width, Next. And it looks like we're going to end up with 2 very sensible columns. the state and the airport designation in 2 separate columns. General will be fine. Finish. So the state and the airport designations are in 2 separate columns quite easily. Now let's separate A10 through A12 using fixed with again. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Now, the information in this group of cells is quite similar to the information in this group of cells. But keep in mind that what we're separating with is fixed with, which means the width of the column for the first column is pretty close in all 3 situations. The second column, just about the same width. The third column, yes, this one is a little longer, but it's still pretty much the same width. And the same with the RT. So let's go ahead and separate this, and I'll show you how it'll be different down here. How and why. Text to columns on the data sheet, data tab. Fixed with, next. Notice it has put in a separator. And we're going to end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Because of the similar size in columns, Excel knew that that was probably what you wanted to do. You could remove one of these lines if you clicked on it just right, or you could add another one. But let's go ahead and leave it with the 4 columns. General, and the first information is going to show up in A10, and that'll be just fine. Finish. So 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Now let's take a look at how this is different. Notice that the RT is kind of scooted over to the right in typing this information. So the columns, especially this last column, isn't the same size or even close to the same size because this is scooted over quite a bit. So let's go ahead and do fixed with on this, and I'll show you what you have to do to fix that. It's an easy fix. Text to columns, fixed with, next. Oh, you know what? I didn't highlight. So let's go back in here and highlight those first. Now, text to columns, fixed with, next. Notice we only have 1, 2, 3 columns. It did not put a break in here. And if we would go ahead and say next and finish, we end up with 3 columns. And what we really want to end up with is 4 columns. So let's back up and start again. Text to columns, fixed with, next. Let's go ahead and insert another column break right here by clicking right there. And then say next and finish. And there we are. The last separating text exercise we want to do, we'll use the text to columns multiple worksheet. So turn to that one. And let's go ahead and separate Frank Martin Lee's name again, but let's say that we don't want to start in column B. Instead, we want to start in column D. So highlight A2, text to columns, go back to delimited, next, comma and space, next, and choose the destination. Now I could get rid of this A and make it a D, but instead I'm just going to highlight that and click on D. And now I'm going to finish. There we go. Frank, Martin, Lee. 3 separate columns, starting with column D. Let's say instead of starting in column D, we really do want to have our employees' names listed, last name starting in A, and then first name in column B, and middle name in column C. Well, all we need to do is make room for those names in this existing schedule. I need 2 additional columns. I already have one for the last name. I need a column for Becky and a column for Sue. So I'm going to highlight B and C, right-click, insert, and now I have columns for Becky and Sue. And now it's really easy to do. Highlight the cell, text to columns, delimited, next, comma and space, next, and the last name is going to stay in A4. Finish. I'm done. So those are some really simple tools for separating text into columns. And that's it for this video. When we come back, you look at some tools for evaluating formulas. You kind of spot a formula that's not working. You've looked at the formula. You can't figure out what's wrong with it. Let's use some tools to help you evaluate that formula. See you next time.